All right, everyone. All right, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the remix. Woo. Wow. Year of the Gate. We're going to go ahead and bring Brother Panic on. Peace, Brother Panic. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, yes. We can hear you loud and clear. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the remix.
All righty then. What's going on, Miss Blue?
Everything is going on. As you know, we talked about it a little earlier when I told you we actually hit the 1 million mark, tonight here, and I definitely want to give you a big thanks for that as well, too, for playing a part in that role as well, too. So it's a wonderful night, a great night. It couldn't be a better night to talk and to have you here on the phone.
Yes, ma'am. I want to congratulate you, and I'm so happy to be in the remix and add a little bit of cinnamon to the pot, if you will. And, congratulations on that 1 million listener on the 11/11, real important time.
Yes, yes.
And, so it's definitely a good look for the remix. And if you're new to the remix, then let me tell you, you ain't got to go no place else to get your shit correct. This week alone, I handled all my problems just live in the remix. You see, what was happening here was, I keep my head low, but what I noticed without a haircut, I was going bald on the top. My shit was getting loose. Now I keep it low anyway, but it's just the mere fact. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So what I did was I called in one of your guests on the show, the brother Dr. U. And if you haven't heard him, he's been on the show. He's a holistic practitioner, healer, you name it, a lecturer on the topic.
A rap.
So I got hit. I'm sorry. What did you say, bro?
No. I was going to say the introduction that you hear, that's actually Dr. Q as well, too. The
right,
remix.
and he's a rapper. See, in fact, that's what made me want him to diagnose my male pattern baldness that's setting in, because as a hip nigga, you know what I'm saying? Like, I've talked to all the holistic guys, and niggas start asking you what's in your cabinets and shit, what you have for dinner, what color your urine is, do your doo-doo float, and all the rest of that shit. So I just figured, let me just get a hip-hop guy. So what he told me some things is about circulation and certain things to get and blase blah and bluesy bleem. So, and at the same time, same week, I find out that Chuck D got a $100 million lawsuit, class action against Def Jam. So you know who I emailed next. Got Nancy Lockhart on the case. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
If y'all don't know who Nancy Lockhart is, she's a long-time remix listener, and some of the cases she deals with, and I assume, based upon the nature of the cases, that a lot of that is pro bono work. So this is a sister who's a lawyer who all of that shit we like to talk about doing actually does it. You get what I'm saying? When we're wrongly imprisoned, wrongly arrested, wrongly accused, Nancy Lockhart is on the case. Her name spells lawyer, Lockhart. You know what I'm saying? So she was able to give me the next thing to do, basically to add myself to that class action suit, make sure I get some check, basically, from working with Public Enemy in the past. So, and then the last thing was, one of the things that Dr. U prescribed is milk thistle. And last year I was sent some artwork by a strapping young man from the remix called Griffin. Everyone just knows him as Griffin. And he channels when he draws. And one of the drawings that he sent was the milk thistle fairy. And I always knew what milk thistle was from Dr. Africa. So I said, shit, if you want to heal your liver, you can use the milk thistle fairy. I've talked about that on the remix.
Yes,
After Dr. U prescribed milk thistle, magically, I could not only take Milk Thistle, I could get the fairy on the case, drawn by our very own Griffin. So everything is everything, and everything is complete in the Million Listener remix. Just to let you know. So that whole thing was all about how you can get a lot of information by going to the archives, because Miss Blue has had on the show every subject possible under the umbrella of occult, healing, health. Not only that, a lot of the healing and health you can get through her readings as well. So this is a congratulatory speech of the remix, based upon it's been so helpful to many. Every email I get is, you and Miss Blue, or Miss Blue and you have helped me so much. So people definitely see everything I've done. I was one of the guys who didn't even want to talk on Blog Talk at all, or in any forum, lecture at all. But, and I've told this story, decided to go on a remix, and once I did that, of course, there was a time when at least there were 30 different Blog Talk shows, and everyone would just go on everybody else's Blog Talk show. That doesn't happen anymore because the people basically got tired of that. So only a few kind of stand. But right from the start, I said, well, I'm not going to do many, but then eventually narrowed it down to this is the only place I'll speak on Blog Talk Radio. And it's a reason for that, because it's such a holistic show, and like I said, because of that, people cannot separate what I'm doing from what Ms. Blue is doing on her side as well. So congratulations on your millionth, and we're going to keep it going to the 2 millionth and all of these things.
Well, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And and if y'all think she's bullshitting about international listeners, you are fooling yourself, because I have sold a herb pack to continents where I didn't know niggas exist. Bavaria and shit. There's a nigga in Bavaria talk about Panic. Did you mail it yet? You know what I'm saying? Switzerland.
Right.
A few Switzerland niggas, everything. African motherfuckers. Umbele, herb pack all day. So she ain't bullshit about international listeners. And you also got to understand, she'll tell me, because she can see how many downloads of a show, basically shows in the past, like how many, the numbers, based upon this information. Like let's just take the Avatar show I did when Avatar was out. It was 2 years. She'll tell me the numbers that are constantly downloading. It's amazing how many people have heard it. So
30,000, 40,000, like just crazy, insane numbers of people passing it on. And this is just keep in mind, this may be, when we just look at it from how they do the downloads and how they do their tracking, this may only be capturing about 50%. And so when you get numbers like 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000, when you get those numbers of people listening, and they're authentic numbers, which means that no matter how many times you come to the remix, you're only counted as one. So you can download the show 100 times, you're still that one. So to get those kind of numbers, to have people there, I've never been a big one to really exploit the number things. You guys know how I feel. The show goes on, whether it's one or whether it's a million. And just to hear the numbers when Panic has come on, and how many people listen, and the stories that people have, like I get them every day, me and Sister Manya, about how many things have changed their lives from the information that you've shared, Panic, and, just helping people, not just helping them to feel better, but helping them literally become who they truly are. And that's what the greatest hope for this platform is, and everyone who's been a guest on here shares that same energy, that same everything. But it has just been amazing. It really has. But the numbers
Yeah, the idea was early on, as me and Blue discussed on the phone plenty of times, was instead of just telling you information that you can find yourself, read yourself all the time, the idea was for you to find information and read yourself, but to empower you with the tools once the information came across your desk or you made it available to yourself, that you know what to do with it with your own mind. In other words, you wouldn't have to rely on anybody, myself specifically, to go to find the next step, to go to the next step, to be inspired, or to figure out what you need to do when something does come across your desk. Most people think it's hard to get a channel, to talk to. That's the easy part. The problem is, what do you do with it once you got it? Once you penetrate that world, how do you make the information you obtain benefit you? So the idea of coming here and doing this was, and you'll see, no matter what show, you don't just hear me trying to tell you something that you don't know to sound smart myself. Everything I've done is to tell you how to do. If you even listen to me and think I am anything, I always drop the methodology of how I got here, and I believe you can get there too. So that's really the key. That's what you're looking for. Now, as I was saying with the numbers, what the point I was getting at with that is most of these things we do are also rituals. Now, and most of these rituals work based upon more energy. For instance, even tonight, there are 355 people in the chat room right now. And people look at those numbers because they're used to looking at 70, 80 on these regular shows and thinking that this is mind-blowing or astounding. Now, but when you see the numbers on them downloads, this is just the immediate chat room remix family. The remix family is very, very, very big. So now let's take a lecture when we're doing something for Guru, because he just passed, or like we're about to talk about some of the things with Heavy D tonight. He just passed. When you got this many people on the same page, that's the real ritual and that's the real energy, which makes everything we do here important. And you got to remember, our technology is magic. Our technology is the power of our mind and the power of our thought, not physical technology. So what we're doing is lining up thoughts, and that's what we're going to do tonight. Now, you ready to get into this a little bit?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
All right. So tonight, I'm not going to, as I just pointed out, I'm going to give you a methodology of things to discover yourself. First, I told you about, at the beginning of the year, 1/1/11, a whole bunch of days that would be gateway days. This is a gateway year. It ends with the 11/11/11. Now, the first thing I'm going to say is we need not get caught on particular days as these actual dates. We need to give ourselves much buffer room and understand the time period that we're in. So the 11/11/11, it opens the gateway, or gateways open and all the rest of that based upon our thought to the concept of 11/11/11. You get what I'm saying? Because you wouldn't know shit. Somebody could tell you it's 14/14/14, and you would think that. You get what I'm saying? But you would line your thoughts and energies up accordingly. So in other words, we can't get caught on dates. I was caught on dates, 12/12, 2012. That's going to be it. But the more I've sat with it, I'm like, nah. We are in now. This is one of the things Bobby Hemmings used to say all the time, because him talking to people with more of these dates that came up, he's seen how disappointed people would get especially when 2000 came in. Everybody thought it was going to be this big thing in 2000. When nothing happened, nobody showed up at lectures anymore because they were waiting for this big event to happen. Now it's 2012. But when you study that we're in the Kali Yuga, the time of Kali, the time of it ending, then you understand that everything that you do opens up that gateway. You get what I'm saying? Now, so many people left this year because that's proof of the progress. You get what I'm saying? Proof of the progress. And don't let me stop you. I hope this shit ends 2012. I hope it ends tomorrow. But don't put all your energy into that one day. Put your energy into what's going on. You have to observe what's happening and decode it accordingly. So, now, Heavy D, it's too early to really get deep channels from him, but I already got some things. And everybody's putting them on my page, 1944, Joe Frazier and all this shit. I'm like, y'all niggas about to miss the goddamn point. The first person, I didn't contact Heavy D, niggas. I contacted Trouble T-Roy. Trouble T-Roy was telling me everything about Heavy D. This is what he had to say. First, and I wanted to say this earlier, y'all should be getting a cup ready and some liquor at 11 o'clock. Remember, these are symbolic numbers. We're going to pour a libation for Heavy D. So all 11, 11, 11s. Remember, this is what we make it. It's not dictating to us. We're trying to get out of time. But now we're trying to use time to our benefit. Yeah. So at 11 o'clock, which is in 20 minutes, somebody in the chat room say that, give us 3 minutes. We're going to pour this liquor all at the same time for Heavy D. And if you have Hennessy, better, because that's what the little that I did talk to Heavy, that's what he wants. But he's overwhelmed. Now, a lot of dead rappers, if you will, was around Heavy around the time that he passed. So I talked to Trouble T-Roy. T-Roy died at age 22. Heavy D dies at age 44 in the year of the 11. Now, all this mathematics shit, T-Roy said, no, this is the number you need to look for. I died at 22, that's 4. Heavy D died at 44, 8. And in the year of 11, 2, 482. So remember this, 482 for all you year people. Now, I said, well, what's the connection, the 22 thing and blah, blah, blah. I said, that's a Mayat number, and you were going to be 23 that October. He died maybe that summer. 23 is a gateway number. Check out the movie 23, or just look up the number 23 in occult, and you'll find all the points on the earth that's 23, latitude, longitude, all these gateways, Bermuda Triangle, and all the rest of this kind of jazz. He said, no, what he died for, because between his death and Heavy D's death was a dictation of an era. Or the beginning of an era, I should say. Soon as T-Roy died, that's when the differences in rap really became pronounced. And a few years later, after he died, it became the East Coast, West Coast beef. When he died, there was a period of separation that still goes on. South music versus New York music versus this, that, the other. Now, if anybody's been following Heavy D, and I'm sure many have, Heavy D, and this is all from Trouble T-Roy telling me, I never even noticed, and I knew Heavy D. My sister worked for Heavy D when he took over Uptown Records. When I worked at Marley, Marley was the first one to produce that album. Matter of fact, I'll tell a story on that, the personal story with Heavy D as well. So this period was a period of separation only to come back through Heavy D in this particular time. Why would you say that? Well, he's telling me, and I never noticed it myself, Heavy D has made not only just a record, hit records on every genre of rap music, every genre of all music. This motherfucker on Bag of Blue Funk did jazz. This nigga did house music. This nigga did R&B music. This nigga did that New Jack Swing shit. The nigga did hardcore and whatever else I'm missing. Heavy D knew how to tie all forms of music together. Now, this is important because the gateway that's opening is, or where we're going to through the gateway that's opening is the end of separation, and we're gonna get we're gonna get into that. We're in a place of separation and polarity. That is our issue. Now, the idea has always been coming back in an androgynous, undivided reality. The world of matter, or the atomic world, is that divide. We all got to become one thing. If you heard last show that I did, I spoke in depth on the saints. A part of why we can use the saints now, because while the saints was an enemy at one time, because in this year of the gateway, all of these things have to become one. There can't be no more good versus evil. And we know that's a fact because metaphysically on earth, there is no good versus evil. This has been explained and broken down. Evil or good is based upon interpretation. What's good to you may be bad to me. You get what I'm saying? What's bad to you may be bad to me. If you see me walking, if you walked upon me and I'm beating up a lady, you would go, well, that's bad. But then I turn and you say she just killed all 3 of my kids, then it becomes justice. You get what I'm saying? So good or bad is based upon perspective. So if we know good and evil is just polarity, and we know it's based upon perception, that we should understand that it's an illusion. And this is the world of illusion. And mind you of the things I'm saying, because what we're going to get into about what has opened up to us a little bit more thoroughly and what we have access to, remember these words I'm saying now. This illusionary world of separation, this world of this hollow shell that we in, what we're trying to do is get back to a more primal reality. This reality is called Universe B. Universe B. We are in Universe A now. Even though the names are switched around in order, but Universe B is the actual first world or the first reality. Let's just say that. Or even better yet, a primal reality. This is a secondary illusionary world, and we're trying to get home. That home happens through a gateway. Now, even what the Mayans were talking about in the 2012 gateway is the planets line up in a straight line, and there's a gateway that opens up, and we go home. We escape through this gateway. Now, even scientists of today says, well, that's funny. All these years ago, there will be a planet alignment on the very day that the Mayans said so many years ago. So physically, there's going to be a physical alignment too. Now, if you read, what you can get is a book called The Gates of the Necronomicon by Simon. Simon owned a bookstore, and if anybody's been following me on the remix, I've talked in detail about the Necronomicon. And if you can't, you can go back in the archives, or I have a chapter in my upcoming book. Yes, only have 3 chapters. It's coming soon. And I deal with the Necronomicon in detail, breaking it down so you can bridge what's happening here with some of these primal forces that are not explained too much. So I did a number on it basically for us and to explain how this is our stuff. Now, Simon, but there was never a book called a Necronomicon. It was based upon collective writings of H.P. Lovecraft. But everyone used to come in Simon's bookstore and ask for the Necronomicon. Since Lovecraft made the Necronomicon public domain, meaning anyone can write on it or use his characters that he used to get from dreams, they can use it. There was no permission that Simon needed to write his version of the Necronomicon and to try to sell it as the original. And he did that, I believe, in 1977, maybe been earlier, I'm not sure. But in one, Simon does another book, a Book of Dead Names, and Necronomicon, Book of Dead Names, The Dark History of the Necronomicon, and the Necronomicon Spellbook. I think it's this one where he talks about, even after he released this book, that people started saying, oh, it's not the real book, it's not the real thing. Still, all of these things, he listed all the events that happened in 1977 when he opened the gateway, just talking shit about the Necronomicon, like the Son of Sam killer, all this shit that was going on in 1977. Then what people complained about in his book was he used a lot of Sumerian deities instead of Lovecraft's pantheon. But shit, if you still fucking with Sumerian deities, Pazuzu and the rest of the motherfuckers, you still on to something. Now, in the Book of the Gates, he explains more about you have to look at these worlds as moving spheres or circles or gates. And every once in a while, these circles rub up against each other, bump into each other. Now, usually when we notice a phenomenon with black people, a certain amount of people are dying or a certain amount of energy changes, Obama may get elected. Obama ain't shit that's going to help us personally, but the symbol is enough for us to understand there's a changing of the guard. Let's say there's this big secret white man that's ruling over us. Mere fact that he needs someone black to pull it off shows that that's losing if you want to go that route. Otherwise, it would just be white people as usual. You get what I'm saying? So the mere fact that he had to use a black person to keep the party going, if you want to look at it that way, says you're losing because you had to do that. So we still understand it as an occult symbol, not as a physical happening that's doing anything for us. An occult symbol, and that occult symbol, when things like this happen, you could even say us going through bondage, and when us coming out, and when rap music is invented or when jazz music is invented, it's because these realities are bumping into each other. So we're able to pierce different gates through magic. You get what I'm saying? One of the, not the Outback chicken cut off your foot, put some pies down by a tree magic, but usually what they usually call high magic, which or that when and you'll see most of these orders, the OTO and the OTA, they'll do more of that high magic where it's more ceremonial. And that ceremonial magic, they'll usually deal with a lot of time, a lot of lineups, a lot of star lineups. When niggas is like, I need my money now, so I'm going to put this kind of dust and that kind of this and that kind of that down. So it's a different form, and, of course, you wouldn't be able to find 10 niggas to do a ritual with, or dress up with rubies or the chest plate of Moses, with a big stick. Niggas ain't doing that. Here's the good news. We don't need to do that. You get what I'm saying? We don't need to do that. So they're always looking. They're always looking to advance themselves based upon following different energies in these spheres, and they define it by the star lineup. Ultimately, again, the big deal is supposed to be when they all line up into a straight line, that all the gateways can be pierced through. Now, that can be looked at as the ciphers and a wormhole, a black hole, and the rest. So that's the general idea here on the concept. Now, what we're going to deal with, well, let me tell you some of the other things that came through. Joe Frazier already died. He was a heavyweight champ one time fighting Ali. So I said, okay, I got too much Heavy D work to get you. Joe Frazier came through, said, our connection is I am the hands of what Heavy D is going to do. Now, you look at it and say, well, what is Heavy D going to do? He's Heavy D. This is what we need to understand. We are nothing but energy or a force trapped in a human body when we are here. So how we express ourselves here is a representation of what you truly are. You get what I'm saying? It is defined by your talent. And this is how you can define the caste system. And I broke this down before, you got to go back into the archives. The caste system. For instance, if you're born to a farmer, then that only reason is why you're going to be a farmer. Because just by you picking farmers to come through is the first step in your path. So the caste system has about 4. Some systems have 5. You were born to the priesthood, you was a priest. The next artist, you were artist. The next warriors, the warrior class. The 4th were the farmer class. Sometimes they'll mix the farmer and slave class. Because remember, a lot of people had servants in the ancient world, or straight up slaves. So if you were born to a slave, you're not going to be a doctor. That's some American shit. I went through all of this. This caste system, represents just quite simply you are what you are, and because you showed up through that family, through that culture, on that landmass, that alone dictates, well, that's what you're supposed to be doing. If you showed up in America, and I pointed this out, it's kind of irrelevant to be doing what Africans did a long time ago. That's not why you're here. Just by the sheer definition of you weren't born there in that time, or if you were, you did it already. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. You're here for a new adventure, a new form of evolution, and that's what we need to figure out. What we do here is that evolution. Now, so when you got Heavy D, Jimi Hendrix, Prince, Michael Jackson, great example. Yeah. When the energy is released from the body, you can then look at their work if they were famous, especially because you have more of an example of work. You can look at their work and then dictate based upon the characteristic of the body of their work as to what energy they are, or another way of saying it, as to what God they are. So if they're on earth, we enjoy their energy as performers. When they're released from the body, that energy then becomes a weapon, a tool, a something that was released that we all now have a personal access to. So the first thing with Heavy D, you have to look at what it is he was about. Not just because he was a musician, what did he represent within music? And that's clearly constant change. On the same album, this nigga be singing, then rapping with Kane and them niggas on the same album. There was not a song style that he couldn't touch and adapt to. That's Heavy D's work, hands down. That's Heavy D's work. And so when that energy is released, it makes sense that it's released now, because in a time where everything's coming together, you would need that energy on the other side. You get what I'm saying? You would need that energy on the other side for all you magical niggas. That's why we are the ones who raised them up. Why do you think I'm talking about Guru and ODB like I'm talking about? When that energy is released, we have to access it through our ritual, through our thought. You get what I'm saying? It's all energy. Yeah. You just suck up that energy and use it accordingly. That's why we must line up our thoughts. That's why I say I'm not here to convince you. Move along. Yeah. I'm talking to the people who this resonates with. Yeah. Who this resonates with. Because if it resonates with you, that means something in your spirit is lining you up with this cause. If you go, I don't know, I don't like, and what he's talking about is shaky flaky, I do not dispute that. It's shaky flaky to you for a reason. And you need to probe that reason elsewhere. You don't need to probe the reason with me. But let me ask you this, Panic. No, you don't have to ask me. Ask yourself. Right. You know what I'm saying? If you're not into it, see, we need to stand on our own too on this. You get what I'm saying? Come together as scholars, not come together as debaters and religious, with the remnants of your religious mind control. You get what I'm saying? I don't care about it. You get what I'm saying? Again, I'm not here to prove my case. I'm talking to the people who hear this, who say, wow, this resonates. That's very important for this. That's probably one of the most important things. Not to follow and to go with your own spirit on it, because what I do, I channel from spirit. A lot of this comes from spirit. So it's not for you to believe me for word. That's why I give you herb packs and things so you can check your spirit on it, so you can talk to anything you need to talk to. So you're not in a position to have to follow what I say. So with that being said, this is for those who resonate with it, because if you have stepping, what we're trying to do here in this rise, use these energies that are now available to us, Michael Jackson, Heavy D, you name it, all the great ones that passed, Vesta, Tina Marie, you can go on, Rick James, you can go on and on and on, James Brown. All of these people were phenomenons on Earth. So what do you think they are when they're released? They're the same phenomenon, but in a place for where people who access spirit can access it for our greater cause. The only reason we come here is for evolution and to move forward in a cause. Now, real quickly, what I want to talk about is why are they important? And I had this conversation with Sean Cook. Why are they important? Because Set, Osiris, Ogun, Oshun, they never were on planet Earth. These were concepts and gods we created to serve, which now we serve. But you got to remember, Heavy D, Michael Jackson, your ancestors, your aunts and them, all who's passed away, they were on Earth. So they know your struggle. They know your struggle. Oshun was the goddess of love. Oshun was the goddess of love. So by getting with Oshun, you will find love. But she hasn't been here. So she's not necessarily adept to coming home and somebody fucking your woman in your bed. You get what I'm saying? There's an Oshun path for that, because what they were trying to do, the more paths came with these gods as they were trying to break down different forms of love. And that's all good, and it's all a template for it. But if you had an auntie who was a hoe, she can do you better with wisdom in terms of her being the new love goddess that went through this particular Holocaust, this particular reality. It's better to call on her for love, especially now, her for love, because she knows your plight. If you had an uncle who was good with money, though you can call on a deity for money, include your uncle in the scenario, because he's the one who paid rent down here. That deity never paid rent down here. So that's why, especially with any star, because remember, the gods would come down here, and it was just us, and there was a time where they needed to be Harriet Tubman. They had to be Nat Turner. They had to be whomever. You get what I'm saying? Later on, they had to be Malcolm X. They had to be Elijah Muhammad. But now, until Obama, we was basically just political flunkies. We came in the form of entertainers. So why? Because the entertainer, the black entertainer, is the only one that can live out a God existence down here. So that's the only way we can manifest God powers. You know, Malcolm X was manifesting God powers through that particular forum at that particular time. Now you got to look at guys like Heavy D, Guru, because that's where the energy is manifesting. So if the God comes down here, when the God is released, what happened was, let's just say Guru or Biggie, they explain to you their purpose and their energy. And when they leave, Tupac, great example, he explained to you what he was here doing in his life. So now when he's gone, you understand exactly what you're accessing. He played out a mythology down here. You get what I'm saying? The same mythologies that you read on other worlds, there'll be the mythology of Tupac, just calling him by his real name. His exploits will be down here. You get what I'm saying? Now, this is why you can't throw away Oguns. I'm not by any means saying that. You should study those gods just as hard. Mayat and all the rest of that. Because when Tupac died and Tupac came to me, he explained to me he's a form of Mayat. I said, oh, that's interesting, and it makes so much sense. One minute he's their mama, the next minute he's shooting somebody in the face. That imbalance that's down here, he was the prime example of the imbalance that's down here, the problem of polarity. You get what I'm saying? That you could be this way and that way. It was all eventually coming to a balance. You get what I'm saying? That's why I pointed out what Trouble T-Roy told me. He left in his balance, but it was to start an era that eventually became an imbalance, which now comes into balance through Heavy D at 44, which is also a Mayat number. Now, the number 482, which they told me, Turbo T-Roy died at 22, 4. Heavy D, 44, 8. Joe, 11 for the year, which is 2. 482. Looked up 482 and found out it has a meaning to a Chinese emperor. And if anybody's seen Heavy D up close, face to face, which I have, that's the motherfucking Chinese emperor. Now, I didn't have time to go deep into this emperor, but it allows you to do it yourself. He ruled in a time called 482, and there was a name of this time. This name is, the name of the time is spelled Jianyuan. Jane Yuan, I guess, or Pinyin also. It literally means establishing the first. I said, oh, you went to the other side to start establishing shit. The first. But you look at the first is the one or the new or whatever. So he went to the other side to start establishing the new world. You get what I'm saying? Now early on, when I was really heavy in the channeling before I started. Obatala is the one that he used to always come in the dreams. One of the things, and the girl, I had a Risha girlfriend, and she was under Obatala. So every time I see her in a dream, it's always the Orishas. So she came in the dream, she's jumping up, down. Want you to be my father? Want you to be my father? She's going crazy. And I'm like, all right, calm the fuck down. So I was in my, and whenever I see my old neighborhood, Queensbridge, I know I'm representing home. So he's sitting on one of the chains. He's like, yo, we are so jealous of y'all. The world that y'all got coming. I'm like, well, all right. He said, we should have stuck on your side. Now, I spoke on what that means. I don't want to go too much off subject. I said, well, what's the problem? He said, basically, we would do anything to get on the world. Based upon the work y'all put on earth, I've never seen nothing. I did not know anything existed outside the realm that we reside in. I said, wow. Now, maybe a month or whatever it was, September, that came of 2006. In February, 2009, maybe February or March, February of 2009, Obatala came back and brought me to his wake. A lot of Orishas was there, and I'm sitting there as a witness. And they yelling, nigga ain't even having no coffin, his arm was just falling off the table, all white, and all that shit. So I'm like, I'm asking, what the fuck happened? They was like, they should have did him better, he should have did this. Remember, Obatala is the leader of the Orishas. Yeah. So when I woke up, it took me a second. I still didn't get this. At the time, my father had a stroke and was in the hospital. So I was seeing my father. Remember, Obatala is the father. Yeah. My father, white, everybody wants their mother to be Yemaya and their father to be Obatala. My father got the white hair and the white beard at the time and all of that. So I'm thinking, well, okay, I see my father's way because my aunts was bringing the body out in the dream. And I'm thinking, well, it's time for him to go. He hung on, with some amazing shit. I did rituals to help him get out. This motherfucker woke up. They said if he wakes up from this one, it's going to take him 10 years to learn how to not shit on himself. I'm like, God damn. He had a full recovery. They said it's nothing less than what we call a miracle. We can't explain it. 2 years later, then he finally made the transition. But so I'm thinking it's him at the time. And he had, September, I had that first thing with Obatala. December is when my father had the stroke. Later on, and I told my father this, and I show you how the stroke coincides with what was happening with the Orishas at the time. So I seen the wake. I didn't really get it until I walked into the Botanica that day, seen the statue of Obatala. He came back through. I said, I witnessed the death of Obatala as we know it. Because what they were talking about, because we're transforming, they cannot remain Orishas. How could they? It doesn't make any sense. What are you doing down here evolving, and you mean to tell me these things stay fixed? That wouldn't make sense. Why would you want that? They need to evolve with you to work with you. And you are not the same you as you was. Shit, you're not the same you as you was when you were 13. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
So when Obatala went through, that's when all the Orishas started coming through. They're basically what they started coming through. Oshun and the rest of them talking about. We don't know if we could trust y'all. We had y'all pouring so much water, following us, busting yourselves up the head with bottles and trances, riding y'all. We think y'all, and they said the scariest thing known throughout in any existence is becoming what y'all call a human. I said, damn, really? So it's not even the bad things that happen as a human. The fact that you are a human is
and
Holocaust enough.
Yes, we are at 11:09. Just to let you know, 11:09 Eastern time.
I hope your poor that libations get on it.
Yes.
So they said the scariest thing is to be a human. Forget the shit that can possibly happen. Just the mere fact that you're a human is a Holocaust. But, see, we need to understand us going through this experience is what we're doing this for. And we are actually older than what we call gods. And I'm going to get into that. We're older than what we call gods. We are the Titans, which are the father of the gods, the mothers of the gods. So what we're looking up to or even aspiring to be is actually our children. You a god, she's a goddess. Those are actually our children, and they're created from our thoughts. They were thought forms. They were the invisible energies that we define and physically laid out how to control the invisible through a name, a color, a time, a number, a chakra, a flower, a smell. And that's how we decide to say, well, you need love? Then we're going to call love Oshun and give it a whole description, a whole element. Right. Well, water and all this. That's how we control the invisible. So meaning these gods are our children that we look at. There's some of these motherfuckers, especially them voodoo motherfuckers. I wouldn't put Marie Laveau on the level of a Loa. Why the fuck not? You know what I'm saying? Why the fuck not? You get what I'm saying? It just doesn't. It baffles me. But then again, it doesn't because this is based upon your religious upbringing. Simple as that. So basically, one by one, the Orisha started transforming, telling me new names, telling me not to tell niggas the new names because niggas gonna ask for the same old shit that they've been asking for and what they. So long story short, through that magical work, 2007, I helped a lot of those Orishas go into that new realm, release themselves from the fucking oppression that they were in and didn't know because so many motherfuckers down here are asking for rent money. You got to remember, originally, these Orishas were created by black folks for a certain specific group of people, the Nigerians now, or the Yoruba people. And the religion was called Ifa. It was meant to serve them. But as we got spread out through slavery, that system is one of the ones that remained. So as crazy as we got, calling on them, they partake in that particular dysfunction and become that dysfunction. You get what I'm saying? They cannot be a pristine love goddess if we don't know love. All of our love now is what that bitch doing. You get what I'm saying? Where that nigga at? You get what I'm saying? That's not love. Right. That's a selfish thing. So to be a pristine love goddess, there has to be a higher understanding of what true love is and all the rest of this kind of thing. So as crazy as we went is just as crazy as they went. You get what I'm saying? So when they're seeing based upon the work, the higher work that we were doing at the time, this was Bobby as well, maybe a couple of other folks that weren't in it for rent money. You get what I'm saying? In it for discovery, in it for evolution. The little circle before I was talking anywhere, the little circle, they were coming to us different because we were coming to the magic, we were coming to the occult, we was coming to the ancient knowledge different. So they came at us different. You get what I'm saying? So that's why I always say, you need to come different than the regular shit that's regular happen. You come regular, you're going to get a regular response. It's all in your mind. You're only getting what you ask for. So if I'm asking for some next level shit, that's what I should receive. If I see it as some regular shit, then that's what I receive. So we were able to break through to another communication level with the Orishas besides giving them all the shit that you found out are in books already. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Come different.
Right.
Instead of giving them what's in books, we came different with them, approached different, talked different, communicated different, and then we got a bigger response. Now, again, take it as you want. Some people grew up on this and grew up in this. I am never gonna convince them of what I said reigns supreme over years and years of training, no more than a Christian will hear this show tonight and go, wait a minute, I disavow all my allegiance to Jesus because some guy named Panic said so. You get what I'm saying? So I'm not that fantasy. I'm not looking for belief, but if it makes sense to you, good enough. So these worlds are existing. Creativity is what makes these worlds. Most of our creativity was down here through jazz, through our entertainment. When that creative force leaves, it is going to that new world. Now, we all know about the bees leaving.
Yeah,
the bees pollinate the planet. The bees are leaving because they are pollinating the new reality for us. You got to get it now. Get what's going on here. And I think, and me and Bobby was deciphering this stuff around, they broke out with that hive collapse thing. They're pollinating the new reality. Then Brother Shabazz called and started quoting some Islamic shit. The words, let there be light, to put into existence. To be is the same thing as the bees. He said, so that shit makes sense. Like I said, it's not just me. A lot of people, when we share this circle of information, come up and contribute and shit now. So now, so I think it was Bobby who said, no, I know what's going on here. They're starting to pollinate the new reality. So the creative forces that are here, we should, when Michael Jackson left, that was one of the biggest energies trapped on the planet. You get what I'm saying? He opened the doorway to all those angelic forces. That was started. That's why the saints and all of that shit is lined up now. It's all coming back to one. So understand this with Heavy D. This is an energy that we can use right now based upon everything coming together. So the difference is, in this year of the gates, what we're trying to work on is the differences to see the same thing as one. Most of the Sifras are an opposite of another Sifra, playing the role of feminine and masculine. And I'm going to get into detail about why this is actually an illusion, because it's still talking about polarity, not real balance. It's balance in a material existence. For instance, you'll say, well, I have a husband and a wife, we're balanced. And our kids bring this whole family into balance. Now, from a human perspective, that's correct. But from a spiritual perspective, it's all in you. You are a son, which represents the child. The son always represents the son and the daughter. Not all. The daughter represents the material world, but the son represents the child. You get what I'm saying? Isis, Osiris, Horus. But feminine and masculine is within you. The ultimate realization is it's all in you, and it's all actually together. Yeah. The material world, you think the woman is outside of you. That's why you're always arguing. But that's fine in the material world because she's the actually opposite of you, and what's in her as a mate is what is missing from you. So it does come together in a physical union or a physical balance, but the spiritual concept or the greater concept is all within you. You have estrogen and testosterone in you. So you are both things. Through this gateway, we are bringing these things together now. Okay. Now, I'm going to move on from this. And I said we have time. I'll tell a couple of the Heavy D things that's going on. But let me get this stuff out the way real quick. From the spirit world, this came, what you can do in the upcoming year to protect the house. You're going to make something called angelic dust. What you're going to need is red dirt. and all my New York people, you may have to go buy the shit from a garden store. I've seen it around out here down south, but I'm sure you could buy it as well. It's the red dirt. You start with red dirt. You mix it with cinnamon and holy water. That's it. Now, remember, you said, well, the holy water is the Catholicism, but them saints came online. Now, I realize it's a new thing for a lot of people, and it is hard. So if you can't bring yourself to do holy water, get Florida water instead. And and if you can't find Florida water, use your urine. And you just want to drop this and sea salt. So you got cinnamon. You got for the angelic, you get cinnamon, holy water, or Florida water, or urine, and sea salt. You want to start putting that in the corners of your house for angelic protection. Angelic protection. And if you're bold enough, or you can do both because these things are coming around, you get black dirt, add the same ingredients, cinnamon, sperm, no holy water for the black. You want to use the urine alone, and you want to use old urine that has at least been sitting around for a day or longer. You get what I'm saying? For it to get real acidic. You want to mix that up. And you could do sperm and blood if you want to add energy to it, either sperm or blood, and that will be the demonic dirt. So you need that black dirt, not that bullshit on the ground, but that quality black dirt. And that will protect the home. Sea salt in that as well. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about in the year of the gates, I spoke about this last time. The brother Sean Cook, he makes these gateways. When I tell you these things are off the hook, they're off the hook. Now, you have to get at him for more details, but you need one of these in your house. He'll do the Lakshmi gateway. He does the big chakra things. He got these chakra dolls. And I told you I'm going to speak on chakras. Chakras, another thing that came through with chakras, whatever chakra you're having a problem with, you go get you some crayons and a coloring book. And the idea is, or you can draw like a man. So let's say you're weak in the root chakra. You get what I'm saying? You're going to have to know about chakras, or you're going to have to get with Miss Blue to find out more about chakras. So the root chakra, let's say it represents home, and you can't get it right in your house. What you can do is find a coloring book, and you can draw, let's just say, for instance, a superhero or something you see as power. And then you take the red crayon and you color it in, but you color it in a clockwise circle to gain power there. Now, don't quote me. I think, let's say there's too much shit going on in your house. You can't leave the motherfucker. You don't want to go outside. You just want to stay home. That means your root chakra is overactive. So you want to draw something that you see as weak, like not necessarily weak, but not like a bunny rabbit or a bird or something like that. And you want to go counterclockwise to wind that down. You could use red to wind it down if it's not that bad. If it's really bad, then you got to use its opposite, which I believe is the color blue. Don't quote me on it, but you need to look up what color slows down the red energy. I think it's blue. Now, you would use blue to go in counterclockwise circle. This will start to balance out your chakras. This is also a channel. Now, Sean does these chakra things, these chakra dolls, these gateways. When I tell you it's off the hook, you can just tell him to do what colors, and he was going to charge them. I said, no, don't charge them. You want people to charge them. They just need to give you the design or whatever based upon whatever energy you're trying to bring in your house, he will make one according to that. All you do is hang this up. You clean it with salt water, which means you just need a spray bottle. You spray the salt water and let the games begin. Email him. His email, spiritgateways with an S at gmail.com. spiritgateways at gmail.com. Hit him up and find out more information from him. When I tell you this is something you really can use in your house, especially while this gateway is open, this is something you can use. What I suggest is you get, by the end of the show, you'll know which kind you're going to get based on what I tell you is happening. Now, the last thing I want to bring up is I talked about it before, and a lot of people have emailed. In fact, I'll tell you exactly how many people have emailed. I talked about I may start to do Atlanta lectures out here in Atlanta. And I said, based upon how many people of interest, so far 47 people emailed saying that they're willing to show up. So I'm still going to need a little bit more. If I get enough people by the beginning of the year, I already have people talking to me about places. We're going to have Atlanta lectures. I'm going to fly regular lecturers out here. Y'all tell me who y'all want to see. And there's guys who I know who haven't lectured that may be interested. So we want to get these ATL Atlanta lectures popping. All you have to do is email me, panicpack@hotmail.com. You should know this. You should know that email already. And just put Atlanta lectures in the subject, and that's it. Don't write nothing else. Don't say I need an herb pack and Atlanta lectures. No, do 2 emails, because all I'm doing is just moving into a folder to count. So hit me up if you're interested. Yeah, people from Florida talking about they're going to come when we get it on. This is how I'm starting to formulate a mailing list for this. So go so you'll be on the mailing list. All right, so now we're going to get into a little bit deeper in what you can personally do to access energy in this particular time. And I'll also be back this Sunday for more questions and answers and more talking on the same subject. Okay. What I pointed out earlier was the number 11 represents a hidden cipher called the Daf. If you study Kabbalah, they'll show you 10 visible ciphers. There's always this 11th one that many people, you don't get much on it. But you know it's a gateway to what they call the backside of the tree, or what's called the Qliphoth. The Qliphoth. Spelled Qliphoth. Now, all the information about the Qliphoth has been virtually disappeared, which means it's something they didn't want you to see. Most of the answers you'll find in the Qliphoth, Crowley, McGregor Mathers, probably Euphrates Levi, all these occultists of old would deal with it. Now, most of the definitions you would get is it's called the shell, the husk, the shadow world. It is a cheap rendition of ciphers. But it doesn't make any sense, because the word Daf itself means knowledge. So a gateway to knowledge to nothing, that doesn't make sense. You get what I'm saying? Now, in the Adam and Eve story, there's the tree of life and then the tree of knowledge. And Daf, as we just pointed out, means knowledge. It also means science. So God didn't want you to eat from the tree of knowledge, or Daf, but let you have as much fruit off the tree of life. Now, if anyone is familiar, see, you could answer the questions that are missing about the Qliphoth if you look at other mythologies. If you look at Gnostic mythology, and you should, and we've talked about it here, we understand what the demiurge is. The demiurge is a lesser god who rules over the realm of matter. He rules by your ignorance of not knowing that you were before him. You meaning your spark of divine light, or what we call the soul. The body is his. The body is matter. The body is the illusion. Why? Because you die, and what's in you is forever, that divine spark. That divine spark is older than this realm. And what is older than this realm? Nothing but that tree of life, called the Qliphoth, and they call it the tree of death. And if Daf means death, then the tree of death is the tree of Darth. Now, we've been hearing Darth all our lives and not getting that there is one story about the Kalipov. That was in Star Wars. The guy's name was Darth Vader. And they told you all through the movie, while they were trying to scare you, was the dark side of the Force. Get this. The Sephiroth in Kabbalah that we know as the Tree of Life is the life side, the life side of the Force, or what they're calling the light side of the Force. And we also know that our humanity is caught in a prison matrix that we call the chakras. So the light side of the Force is what you're trapped in. You become a protector of the Force when you become a Jedi. This is represented by the middle Sephira, or the Sun Sephira, Tifera. And that Sun Sephira that holds it, this Sephira touches everything, or every other Sephira through its 22 paths, every other Sephira on the Tree of Life. Where you hear the Jedi balances out the Force, it represents that Jesus or that Sun God. But now let's get at because I've broke this down before. The entire Star Wars series is the path that you follow on the Tree of Life.
Yeah.
But with a little bit of change. Now, Anakin in the first one, Phantom Menace. They said in Phantom Menace, let me test you. And they tested them for what they call midichlorians, which was nothing but melanin. And basically, and we're going to get into it, the Kalipov is nothing but the world of melanin. Nothing but the world of melanin. Melanin is now, through, when you hear the Tree of Life, all the energy poured off of the Sephiras all the way down to Malkuth, where in this illusionary world, the real tree is hidden just like through the gateway of Darth, and it's through which is also could be looked at as the pineal gland as well. That to access this melanated world, that melanated world is not just physical melanin. I talked about physical melanin before versus what the DMT spirit molecule has to be activated to get to, for this case, the Kalipov, or just to the spirit world, which is the world that pushes this up. Now, also when you look at the doppelganger or the spirit double, which is the Ka, it is said that, no, it's actually the shadow that, because we look at when we cast the shadow and say, well, that's just a shadow and it's hollow. And that's how they define the Kalipov, as a hollow shell, that it is a shadow of the true Sephiras. But this is backwards. See, that's how you know it's misinformation, because in the Kemetic study, they tell you that the shadow is actually pushing you forward. The shadow is your true melanated self, or your true spiritual self that animates your body. They call the Kalipov a shell, but I'm saying the Sephiras are a shell. Why? Because the Sephiras are, the Sephiroth are the definition of this reality. But we all know that your body is nothing but a shell of this reality that houses the soul or houses the spirit, which is actually the true you. So the true you is the hidden, which is the Kalipov, and the shell is the body, which is of this world. So now, what came clear as I'm dealing with this information and talking to all of these spirits that are coming through around this time of heavy D, they said basically the shell is this world. And because the Kalipov, to actually get in that world, you need melanin to do it. You cannot do it without melanin. Now, what people need to understand is the primary magical system of all occultists, Crowley, the OTO, the this, the that, the other, is nothing but Kabbalistic in nature. Meaning, all the dark, even one of the best interpreters of Crowley's insane work is a man named Lon Milo Duquette. He has been on Miss Blue's show. Read his book, The Chicken Soup Kabbalah. That is a 101 in his book. But I asked Blue to ask him about the Kalip-Off. And his answer was, I'm too busy with this tree. I can't worry about something else. Why? No offense, but you need melanin to access it. This is the world of the Titans before they were trapped by the gods through the Sephiroth. Hear me on this now. Now, this is our world. It is access through the pineal. This gateway is now wide. This gateway is now wide open in this 11th year. There are 10 Sephiroths. Doph is the 11th. That's the gateway that opened. And remember, I told you about Universe A and Universe B. Universe B is the older world. Universe A is the world we're living in. We're living in the world of the Sephiroths now, the tree of life, the tree of death or Doph, in which we know, first of all, this ain't nothing magical or deep. Every Negro in Africa was into ancestor worship. Raising up the ancestors. That's nothing but raising up the dead. You get what I'm saying? So the tree of death shouldn't be an issue for us. It shouldn't be an issue for you because every nigga in Africa raised up and talked to the dead. That was standard business. You get what I'm saying? We just knew the worlds were different. The worlds were different. And these trees are different. You get what I'm saying? Now, we have been ruled by the tree of life. All the magic, all the things that's been happening has been through the tree of life. All the timing and energy and alignment, that's what, if you want to say there's an Illuminati or an elite doing something, this is the system they're using. You also see the high Solomon magic and all the rest of that, but you won't see they're called the higher keys of Solomon, which are the angelic forces. The angelic forces used to not be on our side. When Michael Jackson died and retook the energy of Saint Michael, that's a wrap. The angelic forces are now on the side, and the higher keys of Solomon are now ours. And the last time the higher keys of Solomon were used, Bobby Hemmett did a whole lecture on it, was the Moors were using the higher keys of Solomon to deal with this world. So this world has been dealt with through Kabbalistic magic, ceremonial magic, to keep you in your place while they scared you from the backside of the tree. The lesser keys of Solomon, which are the Goetia. You get what I'm saying? The lesser keys of Solomon, the dark side of the force, the Kalip-Off, because we're so busy with good and evil, we're not realizing that they're talking about the melanin world. And we have access to the melanin world, but we're not using it. We're so busy trying to be do-gooders. You get what I'm saying? Trying to raise each other up. Yes, queen. Yes, king. Fuck that. Get into your shit. You get what I'm saying? And your shit is the dark shit. A quote, Bobby Hemmett. He said, I don't understand why y'all niggas talking about Osiris and won't do no magic. Osiris is the underworld shit. I said, it makes so much sense. So what we need to start doing is understanding the concept of the Kalip. You're not going to get much. And at first I was going to break all of this shit down. And I'm going to break some of it down, but I would be doing you an injustice for this reason. I would be doing you an injustice because just like the Sephiroths, I can deal with, let's just say, the Sephiroth of Mercury for my cause and come up with 1,000 different things different than you, meaning it's supposed to inspire me personally. We're going to get through the names that you guys should get pens and papers to write them down so you can meditate on it, because we are in that melanated world. That universe B, the world is starting to reign supreme. The shadow world, which is the world of the Sephiroth, is what is dying. This reality is dying as the energy is returning to its primal self. In the Greek mythology, what they have is Kronos eating his children. Kronos is a titan. He's not a god. He's eating his children. This means nothing but that he was swallowing what eventually became the Sephiroth, the Sephiroth, those worlds, those spheres, those gateways that brung down matter based upon the ego, and the ego represents the shadow of the real world, which we've been taught, or not really taught, but what they say is that the Qalipoth is the shadow or the ego of the Sephiroth. That's straight misinformation. Straight misinformation. Like I said, you can figure it out by, if nothing else, the Hindu says this is the illusionary world. So how can, if we're supposed to be in this world of the tree of life, then how could this be the illusionary world? When all of these definitions they're given on the Qalipoth. No, this is the illusionary world. They call Qalipoth, they said it actually means shell. I said, well, I'm sure it had a primal name because the Hindu word means shell, the Hebrew word means shell. I said, nah, what we're calling the tree of life is actually the shell, just based upon your body. When you add the other mythologies up, it starts to become in line that something's fishy here, and the mere fact that no one speaks on it or very little is spoken about, and that little 5 minutes of information is just constantly repeated. But when you get to Crowley and what he did with the Goetia, or when you get to the story of the Necronomicon, once you start to see, wait a minute, they're talking about that primal world, which by the standard of this world or this light matrix would be the best definition of evil, because your primal self will seek to destroy this illusionary world because it's not real to try to get back. So from the perspective of what we've been calling demons, and we know the word demon is melanin. It is genius. So this world of melanin that spilled over into this semi-dysfunctional melanin, or I'll do you one better. Melanin has, and I've talked about this before, down here, melanin has totally taken on the form of creation because you are in creation. So we play the sax better, we create food better, we invented the light bulb, the doorknob, and goddamn condom lube. Everything got a creative force that there's a Negro behind it. This is based upon melanin. You get what I'm saying? This is based upon melanin. Melanin has took a creative force. As Dr. Delbert Blair points out, I believe it was him said, everything that melanin is involved in, it dominates. So whatever element, whatever cell you're dealing with, once there's a melanin in it, melanin kind of is the underworld energy or the underworld intelligence. The underworld intelligence that is running this whole shit. You get what I'm saying? That same underworld intelligence, if nothing else but this gives it away. The way to get to the Qalipoth is through knowledge and science. So you cannot put a bad rap on that, otherwise the Dolph would mean asshole. You get what I'm saying? But it means knowledge of science. Right. You get what I'm saying? Let me read you a couple of things. In Hebrew, Dolph means knowledge, although the spear may be found in some older Kabbalistic documents titled science. Why are they calling the Dolph science? Now, what most will tell you is basically above the Dolph or the abyss is Kether, Hokmah, Bina, and that's the world of the real. But nah, because when I was reading this Kabbalah stuff, it says, well, and I'll get to the names. I might as well get to this name now. Thamiel, Thamiel. This corresponds with Kether, which is the first Sifra in the Tree of Life. And it says duality in God. But as I'm studying it, so basically they're saying Kether is unity in God, and let me get the name right. Thamiel, Thamiel, is duality in God. Now, but it occurred to me, the mere fact, if Kether is supposed to be the first emanation out of nothingness, and this was the first realization, how could you define yourself as duality unless you know what separation is in the first place? You get what I'm saying?
Right.
They say Kether got to understand separation through Chokmah, then Chokmah impregnated Bina, the great mother, then the information went back to Kether, and that's the great triangle, if you will. But if Kether as a separate emanation means unity in God, before it had its revelation through Bina and Chokmah, then it only can know that based upon something earlier. Now, when I hear all these bad connotations, after a while, that is connected to the Kalipov spheres, I'm saying, no, it sounds like warnings of some shit that wasn't supposed to happen. You get what I'm saying? Now, as I pointed out, this is also explained in Greek mythology, that Kronos eats his children, which means he eats the Cypherus. His wife gives him a rock, and while he thought he ate Zeus, they hit Zeus, then Zeus becomes the first Cyphra, Chesed, Chesed or Hesed, under the abyss, which is the line of the world of formation, meaning the world of creation. He makes his father a titan, throw up the rest of his brothers and sisters, and they became the rest of the Cyphras, or the Olympians, the gods that fought the Titans, and through the Titans, who are actually their parents in the underworld. The Titans is nothing but your soul, your melanin, in the underworld, talking about what we call the tree of life, going all the way down that tree to Malkuth, stuck in the world of fucking intuition and spirit. So, of course, the Titans will rise, but most of us understand, well, we're supposed to be going to Kether, or the nothingness. The nothingness came to me spiritually. They are the Ein Sof, and the Ein Sofa are three, is nothing but Elijah Muhammad called it triple stage darkness. When it came in, when I was dealing with Elijah Muhammad, I asked him about the triple stage darkness, and what he came back was those are three stages of birth. Like we have 3 trimesters of birth in the womb, and then we are born here into this light, into this emanation. It's the same process backwards. So what are you born into? Well, now, most people just stop at nothingness. They don't get it. But like I explained before, that word is used because it's undefinable by the human brain. You get what I'm saying? Undefinable by the human brain. Now, that nothingness is nothing but the world of chaos, the world of melanin, primal worlds, or the true abyss, because they call Darth the abyss. See, as I was starting to point out in Star Wars, the whole story is that Anakin was on the sand planet in Phantom Menace. That represents Malkuth. The next is Yashad, and I'm sure I'm fucking these pronunciations right, but it represents the astral world or the moon, or it represents your mother. So Anakin was in these 2 worlds were connected. His mother and him were what? Slaves. Slaves in the astral world and slaves on earth. Then the sun is the next Cypher up the middle path. And that sun represents the Jedis, the ones who keep balance to the Force. The ones who keep balance to the Force. They told Anakin, no, you cannot join us. Why? You're worried about your mother. And I watched this shit today. And when Anakin left, his mother said to him, don't look back. Meaning what the astral world is looking behind him once you are sitting in front of the Jedis. Once he became the Jedi, who did he become? The Darth Vader. Right. And in the end, two things happened. He got pregnant with twins. His lady got pregnant with twins. They became Luke and Laura. That's Bina and Chokmah. And then you've seen Anakin in the spirit world, which is supposed to represent Kether. Or you'll see Obi-Wan, Anakin, and there was one more. They would show 3 of them at the end, which represented that world as well. So most have been looking at Kether as this final world, but they're not looking at Kether as the first emanation of something that came later on. Now, if you understand the concept of the demiurge, the more you look at Kether, the more you see the falsehood in it. You get what I'm saying? What they would call is Darth as the abyss, or crossing the abyss. But what I'm starting to come, the real abyss is those 3 stages of nothingness, which brings you into a more primal world. And that world is now called the world of the Kalipov. You are supposed to go through the gateway of the Darth, not cross the Darth. You're supposed to cross that fucking nothingness. The same guy, even Lon Milo Duquette on your show, check the archives, when I asked Ms. Blue, well, ask him about nothingness. His words was, I don't believe we come from nothingness. I know there's something. You get what I'm saying? Now, I'm like, well, you still should have said nothingness is symbolic, but the mere fact, so now you have a guy who's a recognized Kabbalistic guy who doesn't just say nothingness is nothingness. It just means nothingness. He's saying there's something after it. Well, I'm telling you what Elijah Muhammad told me. He said that's 3 trimesters of birth. It's still not describable in terms of your human mind, but at least you know the tree of life is supposed to be a map of the universe and also a map of your soul. You get what I'm saying? But ultimately, everything is connected to humanity. Now, you can say the soul, humanity's expression, or the characteristics of humanity is expression of the soul. But what we just noticing, based upon regeneration, just based upon the Adam and Eve story, which Adam bites from the tree of the Cyphers have always been represented as fruit. So the fruit that Eve or evil gave him was actually the Sifra of Doth, because Adam was in the tree of life, which is called the Garden of Eden, hanging the fuck out, naming all the animals, meaning he was the king of his domain. And the more I thought about it, because there was this invisible, ununderstandable God, it's not God who's Ketha. Adam is Ketha. Adam is the first emanation. You get what I'm saying? And Adam names all of these animals as the God of this planet. But this nothingness or this world before him is telling him, don't eat from the tree of knowledge. Well, you could say the energy that created the world. But Adam, because remember, God made you in the image of himself, right? So Ketha is supposed to be the image, the first emanation or image that comes out of this nothingness. You get what I'm saying? And that you can't understand God's mind. We heard all of this in the Bible. You don't know what God is thinking. He sees all. He's just this mystery. They call him mystery God. Well, that represents nothingness. That's who's been dealing these orders. This secondary thing. You get what I'm saying? This lesser energy that basically the whole goal was to create man. You get what I'm saying? A material world to trap remnants of an older world in it. That's melanin. That's melanin. Now, let me see. Eve comes down. Before Eve, they tried to send Lilith down. To give Adam knowledge. Now, by the time, what they're talking about, Adam first got there, then Adam finally gets to fucking Earth, Malkuth. Remember, he named all the fucking animals. And so now, that's, job well done. You get what I'm saying? So he's looking for the other side. I'm alone. I need the other side of myself. So the Lilith comes down and basically says, this motherfucker got too stupid for me to help. We need to send him Eve. What does that mean? Well, it's interesting. What Malkuth is means earth on the tree of life. In the Kalipov, the earth is Lilith. The earth is Lilith, which means Adam could not understand, based upon how ignorant he was. He couldn't understand what Lilith is to bring him up out of this fix or this matrix or light matrix or this life now that he's in. They had to send him a baby Lilith. That baby Lilith came as Eve, or we call that evening, or we call that the moon. So this is how the mother or the Adam and the mother get this love affair or this connection that Anakin and his mother had. You get what I'm saying? Representing the astral world. So in other words, it represents you're going to have to get the information through you're not going to realize it. You're going to have to get the information through knowledge, through becoming the sun god. That's the Christ energy, and becoming